There we go. We're in.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
So excited to be here with you guys today. I am Tamara, also known as Afro Queen. You may have seen me previously playing in Nightheart Gaming content. Like I was just playing with the Maximum Matings this morning a couple of hours ago. But now we're going to go ahead and shift our attention over to a very important topic, that is diversity in gaming. The Discord channel has been popping, and I'm so excited to bring these amazing people on board to talk with us. We'll go ahead and start the introductions with Ashley.
Hey there, my name is Ashley. I'm also a cosplayer. I go by Cenisas. I have been cosplaying for, I don't know, maybe like 7 years now. But just recently, maybe about like 4 years ago, I really got into D&D. Dungeons and Dragons was a whole new world that opened up for me, and it led to some really good friendships. I also proposed to my husband via D&D through a campaign, so that was really awesome. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for asking me to join.
Thank you for joining. And Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. You probably know me from my Twitter at Mustangs Art. I am a tabletop game writer and designer, and a disability advocate and consultant for tabletop games. And I made the homebrewed combat wheelchair for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which was recently on Critical Role. As part of an NPC, Dagon Underthorn, which is really cool. And I work currently a lot on Artalsorian games on the official Witcher TTRPG.
Dude, holy crap,
yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah. I was like looking at the bio, I was like, well, she's amazing. They're like the best things.
And I've also worked on a couple of other games. I've worked on Starfinder and Pathfinder 2nd edition, and also the official Hellboy 5th edition role-playing game too.
Super cool. So we're really excited to have like such cool personalities with us today. We are going to like just get on into it, okay? And if you are in chat, feel free to ask us any questions, respond as well. This is a whole community, and I'm looking forward to the interactions, okay? So I'll go ahead and pose the first question. In D&D, what character or race do you identify with the most, and why? And how has that character changed the way that you play with others? Who would like to go first?
Sarah, you want to go first?
I mean, I'm usually the person that like turns up and I'm like, here's my human character, and everybody else is like a variety of races. We've got like tieflings and drows and elves, and I'm just like, this is my human. Is usually what I go for. But I have been getting into tieflings a lot. I really like tieflings now. I don't know, there's just something fun about like all the designs. So I'm either variant human or tiefling. Pretty much any kind of ancestry tiefling is cool. I especially like the demonic bloodlines a little bit more than others. But yeah, one of my most favorite D&D characters who I really resonate with, there are two. One is a human, and that's Deslin. He is a Monster Slayer Ranger, and he has osteoarthritis in his knees and a hip. And then there is my tiefling character who I really love. That's Talon, Aaron, and he uses the combat wheelchair, and he's just super fun and very near and dear to my heart. I love him a lot.
That's so cool. That's cool. Ashley?
First of all, that's super rad. That's just those are some really awesome characters.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess for me, my very first character is she's a forest gnome. And I tend to kind of lean more towards like gnomes and um, like halflings, like smaller sized characters. I don't know. I think it's just something about like how um, they're very outgoing, and they're very tricky, very trickstery. Um, my character, Faywin, her name's Faywin Timbers, and she is a forest gnome monk. Um, she's the character that I've really like put my all into. I've cosplayed her many times. It's who I'm cosplaying now, also. Um, and like my group and I, we kind of really like went all in on our characters the first go around, and we're still actually playing that campaign today. And this was like 7 years ago that we started, so it's like, yeah, we really enjoy that campaign a lot. But I've also started um, going around and like I played a tiefling once. That was very interesting. I didn't I didn't feel as in tune with like that race more as I do with like gnomes. Um, but we are starting a new campaign soon, and I'm running a like rabbit folk.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's gonna be a rabbit folk paladin. So she's like half, like upper half is human, and then like her lower half is rabbit legs. So we'll see
Yes.
how that goes. But I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I think for me to answer the question, it's more gnomes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I personally like to play half orcs or elves, but I like them to make the shortest possible that I can can make them, just because I just feel like no one's ever gonna like believe that you're actually an elf, you know. You could be a modified human, you know. Um, but I think for me personally, I identify with the half orcs because I grew. First of all, I'm a very short person, so that's already I'm like, oh, if I could be a big tall boy, I would be a half orc. But I think it's also a lot to do with just growing up in a military lifestyle where it's like you fit in with this group, but not quite this group, but you have to find the middle ground, you know? So for me, the half orc falls right in the middle, and I don't play her like I like most half orcs. Instead, she's like obsessed with red fruits, red flowers, strawberries. She's very
Aww.
ditzy. She eats random mushrooms just because it's red. So she just she and she is a whiz bard, but she has terrible stage fright, so she just practices motivational speaking, which is very much me. I just want to give
I
everybody a
love
pep talk. So that is the my character or the race that I most identify with. And so I love to play her. Like if anything ever happens to her, I'll probably be on the news. Um, so when I started putting this panel together, I noticed the limits that I placed on the panel. So I don't mean limits like don't say that or no, we won't include that. It was more like I had to stop and see what else should I cover, right? Seeing the Discord really was like, hey, don't forget about us. Hey, we exist. So it was like, oh my gosh, you're right. There's so much more to being diverse than what I was covering originally. So that being said, do you feel as though you have had a situation wherein you were definitely treated differently, like due to your race, your ethnicity, your identifying pronoun, or even like a disability during a game? That could be like your first time going up to a table that you've never played at, or playing with a new DM. So have you ever had that kind of experience?
I've had an experience quite early on when I first started playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, in which I really, really wanted to play my character who then went on to be Deswyn with the arthritic knees and hip, because I really wanted to play a character like me, who had some of my medical issues. And I had like ideas, and I wanted to say it would be a bit of mechanics and a bit of role play, and here's how I'd like to do it. And the DM at the time was very hesitant, and I kind of got handed there's no rules for it, so you can't do that. And
Hmm.
it was they didn't mean it in a way that was, incredibly mean or anything. They were just incredibly unsure, I think, about like how to handle it, especially because everyone else in the group was playing able-bodied, neurotypical adventurers. Um, but luckily, I did find a DM at the end of the day who let me play that character, and it was a great campaign. It was Curse of Strahd, and it was like the most fun I'd ever had with a character. Um, and but yeah, it's that was the first response that I got to him, which was it was kind of it sucked, I guess, is kind of the
Yeah.
easiest way to say it. That you spend time making this character and you think you've come up with some really fun ideas, and then you get told no, because the core rules don't account for that. So the answer is no. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Y-
I thought D&D was meant to be about the imagination and have
yes.
fun, no limits. But yeah, that really sucked. The first time that happened.
I would imagine so, because I'm pretty sure the first thought I ever had when I was going to play my first ever game was, I can include myself in this. Like, she could be blind. She could have like terrible eyesight. She could not be able. I'm pretty sure I played a male. 100% sure he's a male, identifying, and I was like, I could add in all my parts of my personality and myself, my experiences, and to be met with a DM or at a table that's like, no, there are no rules for that. Like, but there are rules in real life. Like, this is
Mhm.
there has to be a way for the DMs to adapt, right? And the fact that you found one that was willing to like take the time to make it an enjoyable experience for you is what really makes this game like so important to me. Ashley, thank you so much for sharing that. That was great. Ashley, do you have a story or anything?
Yeah, actually, I so a couple friends of mine, we ran a campaign with playing Monster of the Week. It was super fun. It was something very new to me, and I was just like, "This is amazing." It's really great. When we were creating our characters, I created this character named Morgan Fiver. They are gender fluid, and they are also there's a trend going on, but they're half rabbit. they're a were rabbit, so they can like Hulk out like in Bloody Roar. I don't know if you remember that game where there's Alice, that character, and she like kind of Hulk down into a giant rabbit. Well,
That's cool.
Morgan
Yeah.
could do that too. And so it was very scary for me, because it was really the first time that I was you know playing a character, not my that was not like really my gender, but it was a way for me to um, kind of like test the waters, because I guess what I'm getting at is that I used Monster of the Week to kind of help myself feel better about myself in being gender fluid. And I didn't really like know that at the time, but I eventually told my DM about it afterwards. And so he would misgender Morgan a lot. And another friend, kind of said something about it and was like, "Hey, Morgan identifies as they, not she." And it was really great, about having that my DM, he real quick, just changed it and was like, okay, they, and gave me they them pronouns, and it was really awesome. I don't know, it's a very scary kind of experience, coming from like a background where that wasn't accepted. So I was kind of scared to go out and try it again. And so it's just really awesome being accepted and being, I don't know, just being noticed,
Like,
feeling like I exist. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's really awesome. So Morgan is also very, very important to me. So I feel like like you were saying, I can put myself into this character and I can play like myself, but with superpowers.
Exactly.
So it's really awesome. It's really great.
I think the fact that I think that's something that I appreciate that both of you have experienced. You've experienced finding or having a DM that took what you said, took your feelings, took you seriously, and made the adjustment quickly. It's not always that easy though, right? It's usually It's like, no, I'm sorry. This is actually how I would like to be addressed. Or this is how my character would like to be addressed, right? And I've had that experience, at our own tables and at, Adventures League. So I'm really touched to know that you have such great DMs in your lives, and that you have been able to successfully put yourselves into the game. And actually, that's amazing. Sometimes it's things like D&D or writing in general that kind of show you your own truth. And the fact that you were able to find your truth through this game is just like, or help find your truth through the game, is really, really touching. So thank you guys. I think I'll go. So, I'm sure you guys have heard. I'm sure, Sarah, you're deeply invested in this next question or topic, but Wizards of the Coast and a lot of other tabletop RPGs have made a lot of changes, or are starting to make a lot of changes to their content. This is in regards to the races that have been written in their books, right? So, for example, why are all the orcs and goblins bad guys? Why do they stereotypically do these things? Like, why do they pillage, rape, slave trade, those topics that are always hard anyways, but why are they always immediately applied to certain races? So I, for one, am really excited about the changes that are coming, as I don't play either of those races how they should be played. So rolling up to a table and being a half orc with a floral crown with hair dye because she loves it, and like a cat, that she carries around because her pride and joy, is like, no, who is this? Are you sure you're a half orc? You know what I mean? Are you sure you're an orc? So how do you guys feel about this change? And do you think that there is a way to play these characters with, obviously, but do you think that there's a way to successfully play these characters, these races, without adhering to those certain stereotypes?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of sad. I don't know. It's kind of sad that, like, it's not fair that they're always, portrayed as the bad guys. But I'm really excited. Like you were saying, it's exciting to see all the changes that are coming, and it's I don't know, it just feels like equality. It's here in a game that like I can feel like I can escape in. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel secluded or like segregated or like what have you. I feel like I can play who I want to play and not feel like I'm automatically the bad guy. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really exciting. It's
Like
exciting.
I don't have to have a terrible alignment, you know.
Yes.
uh I can be good. Let me be good. Let me be
Yeah.
lawful
Yeah.
good. um it's just like, oh man, my brain like on me. But it's like the little things such as opening up a new book, a new story, and it's like, oh my gosh, that 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 person looks like me. I'm pretty sure I just got a new book for Christmas, and I'm sorry I'm late in the reading. But and as soon as I opened up, it was like humans, elves, like all these different beings that like looked like me. And I remember being like, hold up, it me. Like like this is can I can be this character. I don't have to feel like some type of way where it's like, oh, describe your character, and I'm like, oh, she's got like this brown skin, and like these, like it's me essentially, and everyone's like, mm-hmm, of course. It's like, no, like why? Mm-hmm, nice, give me something new. But like, I'm sorry that I want to see myself in this game. And so I'm so excited to see myself also in the books. So I feel like even new players who are picking up these books wanting to run campaigns are like, oh, if I see this in a game, it's not a big deal.
it's
So I
it's it's
feel
more
like,
socially like acceptable.
yes,
Mhm.
because in general, DMing and running a game is kind of stressful. Like, are these people are they going to enjoy my game? Am I going to do it justice? Am I this, that, and another? But seeing like the things that people might throw at you, could definitely help prepare you. Sarah, do you have an example? I'm
Um,
sorry if I went around the rabbit
I
hole.
mean, it's kind of difficult still because the the dialogue has only really recently been opened in terms of talking about disability and uh, these games in a way that's positive. Um,
Hmm.
because even in D&D there are a lot of ableist things and problems. Initially, with how Esmeralda was handled in Casa Strahd, she had this lovely artwork, and you can see the prosthetic leg. And then in the description, it's called. It refers to it as a secret, and that she hides it because it's a weakness, which made the beautiful artwork redundant, which was a shame. And luckily in the Curse of Strahd revamp, that has been removed and corrected and handled better now. I believe the section has changed from Esmeralda's secret to something like Esmeralda's prosthetic. So just clearly telling you
Ah,
what it is. Um,
nice.
it was after I discussed that on Twitter, which was really cool that it got picked up and handled. There are still a lot of other problems, and hopefully, though, that we will get to open books soon, and I'll be able to see someone like me and have my friends see
Yes.
someone like them. Um, there has been like one good, like big positive one, which is a little surreal, and that's for Cyberpunk Red, in the new PDF version. The cyber chair, which is a wheelchair with cyber legs instead, recently got put in. It's really cool. I had a lot of fun helping out with it. And the artwork they chose is me, but cyberpunked,
So
which is
cool.
really cool.
Oh,
So very flattering. So I get to open the book and go, that actually is me. Um, and
that's so
it's really cool.
awesome.
And yeah, I thought I like that was overwhelming, and really cool to see. And for anyone interested who's listening, that actually makes my character canon, that I play every week for them. Their name is Nyx Phosphate. They're really cool, fun. They're like 5'1" and they have a huge shotgun. They're great. And I
Oh my
love
gosh.
them. Um, but yeah, that was a really, a big surreal moment. And I definitely teared up at that. And
Yeah.
miniature companies, like Strata Miniatures and more recently, Hero Forge, putting the option in for wheelchairs now.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing some
Wow.
more.
That's cool.
And yeah,
Really opens it up.
that we're still in the process of getting there. But like, I really hope, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, because I do love that game dearly, that I can start to open their books and see people, like me and like my disabled friends. And yeah, it helps. It really does help with normalizing disability. Because one of the things I get frequently when I talk about disability and wanting to play that in a character, is I get a lot of people saying, "Well, disabled people, it's an escape game, it's escapism. So like, why would you want to be a disabled person?" And it's like, because I am a disabled person, like, and I don't feel
Thanks.
the need to escape it all the time. Um, and it can be very cathartic and very therapeutic. I used Dungeons and Dragons when I played Deswen. I used him as a form of therapy for getting over my own internalized ableism, because he had that problem as well and struggled and had depression and things from it. And him dealing with that also helped me deal with my own problems. And yeah, so like, it's a good example of that's exactly why some disabled people play disabled characters, is they want to either navigate their own things that they're dealing with, or that or that they want to be themselves, and experience a fantasy world the way that they experience it. So a blind person playing a blind character just wants to experience a fantasy world as, a blind person, the way that they experience it in the real world. And I think it's really important to know that escapism doesn't always mean you want to play like this ideal version of yourself. A lot of the best characters are the ones that are like absolute hot messes and have a lot of things to
Yes.
deal with, because it's more fun to role play a character with so many aspects to them. And I think that ideal, especially to me as a disabled person, that isn't me just without my disability. An ideal version of me is somebody who is, more confident, or more athletic, or has more time for interests like art. That would be an idealized version of me. To me, idealized doesn't mean I don't want my disability anymore. I've been disabled for so long now that if I can't really imagine my life without it.
Yep.
And I don't really want to imagine my life without it, because it's such a big part of how I interact and navigate the real world. And
Absolutely.
to be able to do that in fantasy is fun, and getting to see how you take your interactions from the real world and put it into fantasy is so much fun. um and getting to play a character who is like you, but instead of being pitied or being the villain, is the hero for a change, or an anti-hero, or whatever you want it to be. You have more control over how you are portrayed,
Yes.
rather than leaving it up to oftentimes a very terrible representation offered by media. So yeah, it can be really that is the escapism for a lot of disabled people, is they have control over how their disability is represented.
Absolutely.
Which is, one of the great things about tabletop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think like having these conversations also opens the door for others to consider this, right? Because I have always wanted to play a blind character, specifically a changeling, but I want them to always be blind. But I feel like I can sometimes, well, I can sometimes. I feel like I want to do it justice, right? And I don't want it to be something that becomes the comedy or anything like that. I don't want to be the butt of a joke. It's just something that I want to portray. I am legally blind. Without these, the world is that's blue. Cool. Great. Don't know what the blue thing is, but it exists, I guess. But I want to be able to accurately portray that in the gameplay, without it being, like I said, like you don't understand that. Like, why would you want to portray that? Well, you don't know my life. For one, you don't know my struggles, you don't know my journey. And I really feel like, yeah, without corrective lenses, what is the world? So I feel like these conversations also give me the confidence to do that, to go that extra step that I've been wanting to go, and to I don't know, like just put myself actually into the game, you know? That's why I love the game in general. I love the imagination of it. I love the world. I love the people who I play with, you know? And I'm sure that they would welcome my character with open arms, you know? But I think these conversations are really important, not just for the player, but for the community in general, you know? So I would love to play with either of your characters. Like, you guys just have such complex, like, characters and experiences. It's really, really enlightening. Okay, so this kind of, I guess maybe you've answered, but I am a very short person who can often appear at a table with purple hair, no hair, straight hair, cat ears, a foxtail. I will literally leave the table mid game to find the pieces that I need for the conversation we're having. I am known to all of a sudden have a crown of butterflies on my head because I'm walking through a field of butterflies. So I wonder if, okay, I'll make sure to look for that question. Sidwi, thank you. Oh gosh, oh my life. So I I wonder if any of you have had an experience wherein you walked up to the table and you literally were like, oof, like that was the experience you met. Like, okay, great, here we are. Like, the game is gonna suck because this person's here, and they're gonna be difficult, or they're gonna be complicated, or they're not gonna know what the heck is going on. They're just playing D&D because we're all just sitting here playing it. They think it's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool, but like, take me serious. So have any of you had that experience? I'm pretty certain.
So when you mean have we had that experience, like have we had that experience ourselves, or like...
Yes, like have you had an experience like at a table, either a new table or like at an adventure league, wherein you immediately felt uncomfortable, like you saw body language change, and there was like the shift in like, oh, okay, what, are you gonna sit here? You okay? Yeah, you could sit here. Okay, and they're like shifting all their stuff, and they're like visibly uncomfortable that you are there playing. And like, how did you adjust? Because I had that experience at one convention. I was like, oh, my first adventure league. Here I am with my paper. Here I am with my dice. I'm so ready for the world. Look, I have my mini. And then I was met with like, oh, you're a baby player. Like, you've never played before. And like they they mansplained everything to me. Like,
Gross.
and I was like,
Gross.
oh, I was like, no, I got it. No, we're cool. Yeah, no, I know how this spell works. Thank you, though. But it was like so painful. And the moment I sat down and I was like, and I saw like the facial expression and like the tables, like literally they shifted where they were sitting. I was like, this is gonna be a long game, huh? All right, cool. Cool. So have you ever had that experience where you go to a table and you're like, here we go, and they're like,
It sounds terrible.
down.
But the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons,
No.
which actually put me off playing it for about a year or so. I first played it in like high school, midway through high school, and it was like fourth edition, I think, which we won't get into fourth edition, but I made a character that I was quite proud of and everything, and I turned up and I was the only female presenting at the table with a female character, and the rest were all guys, and immediately I was kind of spoken like down to. Normally I'm like fine if people are explaining for things, and I did ask for explanations, but it would be like the asking another question, like, and it's like I asked a question about how to play my damn character. How am I supposed to play if you don't tell me how?
Yes.
And the rest of it was my character being put into positions where she was essentially like the damsel in distress, and the rest of the party, who were all men, got to save her. And I was sat there like, yeah, this isn't fun, and I hate Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And was completely put off it until just the year before university, and then got back into it through a really nice group. And I had a lot of fun. But yeah, the kind of first experience was just awful, and it was just like that kind of a girl wants to come and play in our all boys club.
Yes,
it really sucked.
Yes.
It's extremely I don't know, heartbreaking to hear that. I can only speak about like, my experiences, so thankfully, I haven't experienced something like that. I'm also very nervous about playing with people that like I don't know, mainly because of these stories that I hear from people, and it's like it sucks. So thankfully all the times that I've played any tabletop RPG games, I've usually played it with my close friends, and they're all very welcoming, very open-minded people, and it's thankfully I was able to join and start my journey with them, because like I don't know, Sarah, your story makes me so sad. It's like, I don't know, like what if you never started D&D after that? What if you were just like, my first experience was so crappy that I'm never going to come back to it? And it's like, it's such a beautiful game, and I'm glad that you had a wonderful experience at university with your close friends, and I'm glad you're here, but like it's such a ugly story. It's so sad, and it's like, why do people have to suck?
But it's like it's real deal, and I have encountered other people like who have said, "Oh, I don't play anymore." What happened? And then you get a story like that, right?
Yes.
And commented, it is literally like why we started Maximum Maidens. It was like I was tired of sitting down at a table where I might get mansplained, or I would be talked to as though I don't understand what's happening. You'll never figure out how to play this game. And it was kind of like, well, what if we find a cool group of girls who like either want to learn the game or are open to helping others learn, right? And that's what happened. Me and Ann talked about it, had a brunch one day with a bunch of girls where we played Dungeons and Dragons, and I think it's like 2 years later or something, maybe that we've been streaming this game, and building this amazing community of players, you know. And it's just, I'm just so glad that you decided to keep trying to play, and that you sought other people
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
And you didn't let that one garbage or those garbage people um, push you away, because that's what they were trying to do. It's like, oh, we just kind of bully her. She'll just leave. We won't have to worry about her. So good job kicking
Yeah.
ass, man.
Um,
So
I mean,
yeah,
my experience, I kind of use it to try and get people to come back to tabletop,
yes,
whether it's D&D or something else, because
yes,
I usually say that if they've had a bad experience and it was when they were like younger, like in high school,
hmm,
I always say like play now because you've grown as a person. You're friends with like-minded people who would love to play a game with you, I'm sure, if you
hmm,
asked. Um, and you're much more mature. And I think, in high school, you haven't really developed as a person. And you might go and grow in a completely different way to the people that you used to know in high school. Um, and I found like that was my experience with university. By the time I got to university, I was more sure of who I was as a person, and my friends were kind of also very like-minded. And I said, well, I got invited to Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, I'll give it a go because you are people who seem okay, and I would very much like to try and play with you. And yeah, everything just clicked then. So I've always encouraged people who've had bad experiences, like in high school or something, give it another shot. It's always worth it. Because, I think when you've got the right people, um, you're missing out on something really special and really fun.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
so yeah, like I always, yeah, try and get people to come back to it if I can.
absolutely. I would like to address the question that was asked. The question was, how do we bring up the issues of inclusivity and diversity with acquaintances or members of a group that are not so open? That's actually really good. For me, I say, so if they're acquaintances for sure, right? They know enough about me. That's my first thing. Like, if we're acquaintances, you should know enough about me to respect me, right? Um, I'm telling you, this is how I would like to be addressed. I'm telling you, this is my character, and this is everything about the character. I'm sharing this with you. I'm being vulnerable with you, um, because I'm trusting you with this information. And if that member or acquaintance is like, I don't care, it sucks, I don't want to play with you, then at that moment, I'm sorry, maybe I'm being harsh about it, but at that moment, I would probably look to our fellow acquaintances and members who are playing in the group and say, I do not feel comfortable in this situation. If this is going to be how this game is handled, either I'm going to remove myself from the situation, or this person should be removed from the situation. For now, I will probably remove myself. But that's how I handle these situations, because I don't have to be treated like that. I don't deserve to be treated like that. But I will make sure you are aware of how you're making me feel in this situation. If we don't tell people how their actions affect us directly outside of the game, they're never going to figure it out. If you never confront the issue and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine, you can call me, you can refer to me as he. That's not my pronoun. That's not my pronoun, and it's not my character's pronoun. So that is incorrect. And you cannot do that to me. You have to take these moments to try your hardest to be brave. I think it's these little moments where you're able to be brave. that are very influential. Man, that kind of made me sad, guys, which I wasn't expecting. Whoa. And I said I was strong. um, she's like, you are. And I was like, thanks, you know. But I think just try to be brave. Take that chance to be like, no, that's wrong. And then go from there. They're either gonna say you're wrong, which they're not, because that's like telling me that I'm not Black. They're either gonna say you're wrong, and then you're gonna be like, look at your friends. You'll see it in their face, like they'll either be like, bro, like you messed up, you know what I mean? Or they will be like, yeah, they're right. If they're like, yeah, they're right, then I grab my dice tray, my dice and my minis, and you leave. Find somewhere else that you will be welcome, because these nice, amazing people exist.
They really
for
do.
sure. And I hope that I answered your question appropriately, and I hope I didn't overstep. Ashley or Sarah, I'm really sorry, but I didn't realize how passionately I felt about that until I started talking about it.
No, honestly, you couldn't have said it better. Like it's just like I 100% agree with like what you said. It's so true. Find people who love you for who you are. And I know it's hard, but it's like that's just that's just how it is. You know, if they don't want to accept you, go find someone who will.
Yep.
And like from having had experiences, you know, as a disabled person and wanting to play disabled characters, that, you know, you do learn, unfortunately, to pick out who is being very genuine when they don't understand something, and who is being ignorant deliberately and will never change their opinion. Which is why it's always cool to have like a dialogue open outside of the game. We used to do stuff where we'd do like a cool down afterwards, like we'd all go to the bar and like sit in like a corner and get a few drinks and just chat about the game in general, how we're feeling, what do you think we could do better, kind of thing. And we wouldn't just discuss that with the DM, we'd discuss it with each other. So like one player would be like, okay, something was brought up today that, you know, either my character or someone else's character did that made them very uncomfortable, and they wouldn't like that to happen again, you know, and we all make note of it and say, okay, we've learned, and we move forward with that. And when you come across someone who's being ignorant deliberately and doesn't care to change their opinion, walk, like completely just, yeah, like you said, just walk, because it's not worth your energy or your time. And you don't have to sit there and try and validate why you should be somewhere. You shouldn't have to give a reason for why you should exist as a person at a table. So yeah, definitely just, like you said, stand up for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you should be, you know, in a space where people who care about you as a person and respect you as a person, you know, should be the people that you're playing with. And, you know, regardless of your identity or who you are, that shouldn't be some sort of political taboo statement at a table. Like people who try to make disability out to be some kind of political statement. It's like, no, I'm disabled. That's not a political statement. It's just a state of being. And yeah, those kind of people are just not worth your time. So
Absolutely.
you know your self-worth, basically, and leave. You have every right to leave.
Just do. However you need to get out, just go. And playing off of, sorry, Valandar, the red. You're welcome for that name. If there's genuinely a person who is ignorant to it, like not ignorant in like in a malicious way, but like genuinely doesn't understand, does not have knowledge of, and does not know how to seek that information, right? If if you have somebody who is like that, there's always time to sit down with them one on one, or say, hey, can we take a moment? Take a moment and explain it, right? Because that only enriches your game experience. And then at that point, they still refuse to try to understand. I mean, you have to find your limit, right? You have to be like, hey, I've explained to you several times, and at this point, it's just feels like you're choosing. You are making the active decision to be ignorant, and I just don't feel like this is going to be a good fit. And then leave, like we've been saying this whole time. So, don't be afraid to take moments and talk to them. For example, in the Maximum Mating campaign, we have red, yellow, and green cards. They are off screen. So this is like, I guess, a behind the scenes little snippet. But they're behind scenes so that if we are rolling into a topic or an encounter that may be triggering for us, or maybe I'm not ready to cover this, I can just flash my little card or tap it even, and we just keep moving. You don't, we can, there's no need to call a big whoop or big attention to it. We can discuss this after, when we do our after talk, right? Like, hey, Tamara, I'm really sorry. Sorry, my cat's playing and it's really cute. Uh, we can take the time. Hey, Tamara, I'm really sorry I introduced this conflict. And I was worried that it would influence you, but let's confront it. Like let's kind of like take a time to talk about it. Are you okay if something like this happens at a later time? Because for me, a little bit, I had to deal with child loss, and then we had an occurrence in game where a kid like died, right? And so like everyone was looking at me like, you good? Is this a red? Is this a card? Is this a? But it's the fact that we took the time to be like, hey, there's a moment, Tamara, that you may not be comfortable. Please tell me. Please let us know if we need to move. Like skip. I can skip it. It's not important. Um, and I feel like having a DM that is sensitive to those kind of situations is really important. And being comfortable enough to be like, oh, red card, please, please, I cannot. Or being like, yellow, I'm a little uneasy, but I can keep going. So I feel like having, I want to make sure I wasn't muted. Having the tools with your DM to communicate how the encounter is influencing you is really important. So I think finding your home, that's what I call my family, in D&D, is really important. And having the safe, like Izzy Lobo is saying, having the safety mechanism in place for a safe space when you're playing your game is definitely important. And I don't know if any of you have had a moment in your game when you're like, oh no, no, that's a hard pass for me. I'm not participating in this encounter. I'm gonna go sit in a tree and play with my flute. Um, so have either of you ever had an experience in gameplay where you're like, oh, nope, I'm out, and your character kind of steps back from the encounter?
I've been pretty lucky. My DMs have always been like kind of very considerate. And I'm quite comfortable with most topics. I'm like I played through Curse of Strahd, and things would get pretty intense.
Oof, yeah.
Obviously it's a horror setting. But they were in not so much oh no, but like a good way to wind down as well. Like after something happens, or there needs to be a line or a veil, and a move on from a scene, is because our games for Curse of Strahd, they used to take like 9 hours or something a session. They were really
It's a
long.
huge game.
And we were in character for like those whole 9 hours, and it was really like a mental toll and an emotional toll. And when things got to be too much, we'd call the session, and we'd basically do like a wind down of just like talking everything through. And that's always a good way to approach when a line or a veil has been hit. Is everyone just like the same way that you take your hands off something and step back for 5-10 minutes and just talk. Um, Usually we do something where like we all made like hot drinks and would like sit at the table and just ignore the game for 5 or 10 minutes, talk about what went wrong or what got too intense, how can we avoid it in the future, and see if there were anything that we could have done better, to know for the next time. And that's always like a very good way, I think, to approach it, because sometimes things go wrong. Somebody doesn't say that the line has been crossed or the veil has started to be reached. When you're in the moment and you're so intensely in your character, sometimes you feel like it would be ruining everybody else's role play to say, oh, I'm not comfortable. And that has happened in some of our games. So, calling it when things get intense, stepping back and then discussing it. It's a way that everyone feels that they can talk about it without interrupting any kind of role play or anything. It provides like a safe break in which to discuss these things, talk about why the card wasn't flashed or why wasn't something said, and figure it out and how you can do better in the future. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. We have had, Anne likes to throw, also known as Sidwi in the chat, a lot of really like difficult situations at us. And I think that's because, her background is like psychology, so that's not fair. Um, but she does throw these really like wild moments to us. And like, there's been times where I'm playing and I look across, I can see on the table the people who shift, like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, right? And you find ways to detach, right? You literally, nope, I nope the situation. I'm not in this emotional bubble of honesty. I'm not talking about this at all. Instead, like, I'm going to chase rabbits, right? Around the topic. And then after it's like, oh, thank you. We got a 5-minute warning. Whereas we, okay. And then like, that's fine. We can confront that afterwards, but you're right. Having the right group and tools to be like, okay, like, y'all, that was crazy. Are you okay? You good? Like, are you okay? Like, let's talk about it. Is really important. I do want to do this last question that was asked of Mage of Mystria. How can we as DMs make sure that we are inclusive and ensure we aren't making certain players feel different because of race, orientation, gender, or disability? And how can we ensure that we extend that across the table? I will say that I think including that in your, like I saw in the comments, NPCs, introduce those characters into your game. That can even be your warm-up, right? Like maybe you're gonna encounter an NPC that is in a wheelchair, right? At the beginning of your game, maybe in a tavern. And then later you encounter something else. So you're kind of introducing this world of inclusivity into your gameplay, so that when your players experience it, it's not like, what? I've never encountered a character in a wheelchair, or someone who's blind, or someone who is gender fluid. Introduce that throughout your game, in your story, and it's not new, right? If that is what you've been experiencing the whole game, then why would that encounter be like, whoa, I don't know how to handle this situation. I'm not comfortable handling this situation. I don't want to handle this situation. I refuse. So as a DM, I feel it is your job to include, do your best, right? Do your best to include as much diversity as you can. It really just enriches your game in general. What do you guys think?
100% agree.
Yeah, in terms of from a disability perspective, but could easily be applied to any aspect that the question mentioned. Online resources, the internet is your best friend in terms of
Yep.
this. There are blogs, video logs. Jennifer Kretschmer on Twitter at DreamWisp, their pinned tweet is a whole load of resources on disability and how you can apply it to your games. And most of them, if not all, are free that you can just have access to. There are things like avoiding ableist language and such, how to improve accessibility at your tables, things like that. And I think it's just definitely worth making as much use as you can out of the internet, and also being aware to have an open dialogue at your table. If you are a DM or a player, you say something, for example, that's ableist, and have it set up so that someone can point that out to you easily and say, hey, that was ableist. And when that happens, don't take it personally. It's nothing against you if it wasn't, something genuinely malicious. Because, ableist language is so ingrained in everyday words. That you don't take it personally, just see it as a means to go, oh, okay, like I see now where I went wrong, I've learned, and we'll move forward, and I'll take that in mind. So yeah, definitely make sure that like you use these resources, because there are a lot of them out there, and I will say a lot of them are on Twitter. There are a lot of people making some really cool things out there on Twitter, and I definitely recommend downloading them, reading through the things that either are relevant to your game or just everything if you just want more general knowledge. So yeah, definitely make use of the internet.
Absolutely. I guess we'll go ahead and round this up by, first of all, guys, thanks so much for being here. These questions have your responsive have really like touched my heart, and I'm so glad that you've taken the time to sit here and talk with us about your experiences and how we can enrich our game, right? Because at the end of it, this is our game. This community, this is our game. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here, for giving us some great questions. Everyone who is in Discord, thank you so, so much for your questions. It literally changed the panel. Definitely for the best. I was like, oh, do you think it's hard to play as a woman? Or like, it was so narrow. I was such a small window of what I was focused on, and it's such a big field. So thank you guys so much for everything, for helping us to create this panel. I will go ahead and give Ashley and Sarah some time to let you know where you can find them. And of course, thank you, Reaper, for hosting this really cool event and for having us to do this panel. Thanks so much. Take it away, Ashley.
I mean, yeah, you can pretty much find me on any social media. It's Senisas. I know that sounds real weird, but it's SENESAS. Yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz. So
Thank you, Sydney, for
any
putting
one of
in
those.
her. She put your Facebook link in.
Oh
Thanks,
yeah.
Anne.
Thank you.
And Sarah?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Mustangs Art. My pinned tweet is the most recent version of the combat wheelchair, version 2.1, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm so proud of it, if you couldn't tell. And you can check out Strata Miniatures, who make the miniatures for the wheelchairs. And you can also catch me on Wednesdays on Sirenscape's Twitch. I play Nyx Phosphate in a Cyberpunk Red campaign, and they are an absolute delight to play. And the show has Gabe James Games in it, Cypher of Tyr, which is Tanya, Kelly, the opera geek, and has lots of wonderful people working behind the scenes as well. And yeah, you can check that out every week. I think we're almost coming up to like the end of the show now, so that's exciting. And you can also check out one of the more recent Dragon Talk interviews. I was on that. It's up on their YouTube, on Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons YouTube. And I was also on the most recent Critical Role Critter Hug. If you want to check that out as well, talking about combat wheelchair and all that jazz. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'll pretty much update you as we go, because there are things that legally I can't talk about yet, but we'll be able to in a couple of weeks.
So exciting!
So yeah,
thank you so much. And then you can find me on Nightheart Gaming as Afro Queen. I think, yeah, it's AFROQWEEN normally, because I was young when I created my gamer handle, so you're welcome. And you can find me on Instagram as Afro Queen Cosplay and on Instagram as Afro Queen HTX. I apparently am not capable of consistencies, but that's how you find me. And all of this, we'll put links in the Discord so you can find them on all of their social media sites. And again, you guys, just thanks so much. This was so much fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
And
having
we'll continue this. Yeah, I'm going to continue it over on Discord because I should be asleep, but I refuse. So I think we're going to lead into the next dealy do.
Yeah, closing ceremony.
Right. Closing ceremony. How cool.
Yes. Thank you very much. We appreciate that you guys did this.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yes,
bye, guys.
Thank you, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.